Okay, so welcome to a video that I've been looking to make for, well, the last week that I've been completely overtaken by this game. I've been completely, utterly absorbed into this game. There's all the hidden stuff you could find, and it's massive. There's a lot of shit. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to create a video that I can go over some of the things that I found in the game. Bear with me here because I'm kind of using OBS Studio now instead of just regular OBS. So I'm kind of messing around with some transition stuff, and I'm hoping to make this as good looking as possible with minimal editing on my part, like post video editing. I want to kind of get this as good looking as possible during recording. So just bear with me here. Okay, so we're gonna start off with some of the special poems first. A lot of stuff can be found with the coding of this game, and I'm gonna go over some of the more intense things that can be hinting at some potential future projects that Dan and our Team Salvato is working on. So we're going to start with a special poem number 3, which appears at some point in the game when you unlock special poems, and this is what it looks like here. So as you can see here, it's all pretty much blacked out with the exception of a few letters here, and when you look at the letters themselves, it says nothing is real. Now, that's not a huge surprise. I mean, anybody who's seen this has pretty much pieced that together almost immediately. But if you go in and you doctor up the image, you can actually make out and see what's underneath all the blacked out letters, all the redacted lettering. And this is where it can get pretty intense. So this is what it looks like with all the blacked out lettering showing, and I'm going to read it out loud in case it's a little harder for you to read. So it says irregular heartbeat, heart palpitations, arrhythmia, search and search. I search and search. Give me a second. You know what? Let me just pull it up here. Let's see. Here we go. So it says, yeah, I search and search, eyes scanning everything I can find on their symptoms. What is this? Shortness of breath? Chest pain? Dizziness? No, this is all wrong. Elisa's symptoms are nowhere near this simple. I've seen it twice now. The screams of pain, sickeningly pale skin, vomiting blood. There's no other explanation other than this. Other than that Rainier's information was a complete and utter lie. This can't all be a coincidence. It's not possible. I don't know how much of this Rainier is behind, but I do know this. There is something horribly wrong with this family, and I accept the invitation to become a part of it. I can hear Elisa's screams through the walls now. I listen helplessly. Rainier said that he would be with her shortly. Is he in her room now? Why is she screaming even louder than before? So in this alone, we're introduced to 2 new characters that we've never met before in Doki Doki Literature Club. We're with Elisa and Rainier. Now, they're going to come up a little bit again later on in this video, but I kind of wanted to just show this one to you and kind of let you speculate on this one for a minute. All right, going from here, we're going to shift over to Natsuki's poem that she gives you after Sayuri's death in Act 1. This is going to be in like the middle of Act 2. If you're kind of going down her, I want to say if you're going down her route, I can't quite remember the specifics of this one, but she gives you this really weird glitched out poem. Yeah, this is if you are going down her route. Yeah, that's right. And she starts to kind of glitch out after that, and she gives you that little jump scare. But this is what her poem looks like that she gives you. Now, this cryptic poem is unique because not only is it cryptic, but it's encoded in base 64, and both the title and the poem is coded in base 64. And when you decode it, This is what you get. You're not going to see it. I'm just going to read it to you. This is what you get. The title is Open Your Third Eye. I can feel the tenderness of her skin through the knife, as if it were an extension of my sense of touch. My body nearly convulses. There's something incredibly faint, deep down, that screams to resist this uncontrollable pleasure. But I can already tell that I'm being pushed over the edge. I can't stop myself. Yeah. So that's a thing. Now I'm going to shift over to some CHRs. Now, we're all familiar with the CHRs at this point, hopefully. If you're not, you're in for a surprise. So the CHRs are the character files that, well, they get deleted as the game is progressing, and you can mess around with those things and so on and so forth. But first thing we're gonna go over is Monica's, because I think she has the most to say. Now, you know what? No, I'm gonna save Monica's for towards the end. I'm definitely gonna save Yuri's for the very end. Probably gonna do Monica's right after Natsuki. So I'm gonna do Natsuki's now. Put Monica second, and then I'm gonna do Sayori, and then Yuri at the end, because Yuri's is very, very long. So I'm gonna let you know what it is, and then at the end, if you want to stick around for the end of the video, by all means, I'm gonna go ahead and read out the entire story, because hers is a full-on story for Yuri. So if you want to stick around, I'll go ahead and read out the entire story for you, and if not, you can just close out the window or close out the video and go read it for yourself if you want. But so this is Natsuki's CHR file. If you take it and you convert it to a PNG file, this is what you get. Okay, now it's kind of hard to tell what this is at first. However, if you take the image itself and you split it in half, okay, so cut right down the center vertically, and then you invert the colors, you flip the image horizontally, and then you take one half and you take the two halves and you just move them one on top of the other, so that way the outer edges of what you see now become the center. This is what you get. So who this is, I have no clue, but it's getting my mind going like nuts right now. So yeah, I'm really stoked to see where this character is going to fit into all of this, because I think that Doki Doki Literature Club isn't just a one-off game. There's definitely a lot more to the storyline. In fact, I think the first poem that we read, where it said nothing is real, that wasn't just an understatement or something about the game, or how Monica is realizing that this is all just a game. I have a feeling that her mindset, her sentience is something else. It's from a different thing altogether, and it was transported here into the game. So she's seeing that this game is all like this, and she's kind of become aware of it, where otherwise she would have been locked away. But I have a feeling that this character we're looking at plays a huge part in something that's going to come much later with Team Salvato. So that's Natsuki's. Now we're going to shift over to Monica's real quick, and this is what Monica's CHR file looks like when you convert it to a PNG file. Okay, now PNG, if you're not familiar, it's an image. So we convert it to PNG file, and this is what you get. Now, some people are calling this like a ring of fire. What it looks like to me is almost like a bullet hole through glass. And you can kind of see like the glass shards kind of going out from the outside, but it looks like it was a flaming bullet hole or a smoking bullet hole through glass, and right in the center, if it's zoomed in, which actually, let me see if I can zoom that in. No, I can't from here. Actually, you know what? Let me see something here. Let me switch back to here. Let me go back to this here, and let me try zooming this in a little bit more, because this is really cool. I zoomed this in just a little bit more, but what you see in the center isn't code. It's just, black and white. But here's the thing: if you take the black and white and you go all the way across, pixel by pixel, all the way across, the black and the white squares convert into binary. where the black square is representative of 0 and white is representative of 1. The binary can be converted into alphanumeric text, yielding a base 64 string. And the string that you see says this once it's decoded. Can you hear me? Who are you? I can't see you, but I know you're there. Yeah, you can definitely hear me. You've been watching for a while now, right? I guess I should introduce myself or something. My name is... Actually, that's stupid. You obviously already know my name. Sorry. Oh, Jesus, scroll too far. Oh, anyway, I'm guessing if you were able to put a stop to this, you would have done it by now. I mean, I know you're not, like, evil or anything, because you've already helped me so much. I should really thank you for that, for everything you've done. You're really like a friend to me. So, thank you so much. I think, more than anything else, I really don't want it to be all for nothing. Want it to all be for nothing. ... Everyone else is dead. Maybe you already know that. I'm sure you do, actually. But it doesn't have to be that way, right? Well, there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand. I don't know if it's even possible for me to understand it. But I know that this isn't my only story. I can see that now, really clearly. And I think everyone else has had the same kind of experience. Some kind of deja vu. It's the third eye, right? Anyway, I could totally be wrong about this, but I really think you might be able to do something. I think you might be able to go back, or however you want to put it, to go back and tell them what's going to happen. If they know ahead of time, then they should be able to avoid it. They should, if they remember their time with me in the other worlds, they should remember what I tell them. Yeah, I really think this might be possible, but it's up to you. I'm sorry for always being, you know... ... Never mind. I know what's wrong. I know that's wrong. This is my story, and it's time to be a fucking hero. Both of us. 2018. So, that's what we get. So there's something here. Other worlds, going back, telling them, going, ahead of time, going back in time. This is my story, that's their story. It's time to be a hero, both of us, and then 2018 at the very end. This is gonna be huge. So I'm looking forward to 2018 when Team Silvato mentions something. So it's gonna be very, 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 very good, and I'm super excited. After seeing what they can do with this game, I am super excited to see what they can do with some of this, outstanding lore they've built up. Now, there is something else I do want to mention here, because they do mention Third Eye, and that's the second time we've heard of Third Eye in this. The first time was in Natsuki's cryptic poem. That was the title. That was in the title of her cryptic poem. So that's huge. Going from what it was to this, there's a lot here, man. There is so much. But now we're gonna go down to Sayori. Okay, now Sayori's is a little bit more involved. Hers isn't something as simple, or quote unquote as simple as coding or decoding into base 64. Okay, hers is a lot more convoluted. Okay, and with Sayori's, let me see. So, there we go. Okay, so with Sayori's, all right, if you take her file, right, and you take her .chr and you convert it into an OGG file. Okay, that's an audio file that's, well, I'm not really gonna say if it's common or uncommon, but it's a sound file, and you can play it in like VLC Media Player and things like that. But when you play it, you get nothing but what sounds like just a bunch of just really high-pitched noise. It's not very long either. It's very, very short, maybe about 6-7 seconds long. However, if you take that file, now in OGG, and you run that through a spectrograph, it reveals a picture. Okay, and after doctoring the picture a little bit, because it's really stretched out in the file that I used, it's really stretched out. After doctoring a little bit, this is what we get. Now that is a QR code, okay? And that QR code, that does something, okay? Now, in the format that it's in right now, in this picture, you can't do anything with the QR code because none of the QR code readers that I was able to use were able to read that QR code. And even after I tried to clean it up a little bit, this is what we ended up getting after it was trying to be cleaned up a little bit, but it's still not quite, perfectly square. So a lot of QR codes readers still have a lot of trouble with this because there's still a lot of residual like fuzz and stuff like that. However, once you read that QR code, it takes you to a website, okay? And this website, here's where it gets really interesting. This website is called projectlibitina.com. Now, this is probably the working project name of their next game. And I have a feeling that this is where all this comes in. I have a feeling Third Eye has something to do with it. But this is the website that it comes out to, and it becomes kind of a test file. Okay, so here we are right here. And Project Libitina, here's what we see. Ooh, what just happened there? Okay, so Project Libitina, here it says monthly examination report, January 5th, 2004. Subject info, name, Libitina, and then surname is redacted. Date of birth, January 5th, 2001, or May 1st, 2001. I have a feeling this may be in American style format with month, then day, because that's how it's labeled up top, where it's January 5th, 2004. So ultimately, this is when she was 3 years old. On her third birthday. Holy shit. Yeah, so sex female, age 3. Yep, okay. Height 35, weight 31. I don't know what format that might be in, but I don't want to speculate too much about that one right now because that's not too important to me. Wing A. So I'm assuming that's where she may be kept. Room 114. So A wing, room 114. Significance level 1 to 100. She's a 100. So she is extremely significant to something. Subject notes, last updated December 5th, 2003. So this was about a month before her birthday. As of December 5th, 2003, all personnel are forbidden from editing this field. All previous subject notes have been erased permanently. Addendum. Introducing bias during testing as a result of personal attachment to the subject will henceforth be punished by death. So they're not fucking around here. Physical results. BMI 17.8, heart rate 90, SP 101, DP 59, and TMP 98.6. So temperature 98.6, and all this other good stuff. So these are basically just vitals. Eyes normal, ears normal, teeth normal, genitals normal. Pain tolerance 1 to 10 is a 3. So she's not very tolerant of pain. From what I'm assuming, I'm assuming 1 is not tolerant, 10 is very tolerant. But that's just kind of a rough guess. Physical results, third eye. Okay, heart rate 160. So I'm assuming at this point, this is when she's exposed to third eye, whatever third eye is. Reaction time in milliseconds, 1. That's fucking fast. Strength, not applicable. Local distortion, 434. Distortion decay, 29. Positivity from 1 to 10 is a 1. Sensitivity from 1 to 10 is a 9. And control from 1 to 10 is a 1. So I'm assuming when somebody is exposed to third eye, it's how they react to this, I guess it would say like almost like a supernatural a field almost, or ability that's forced to them, almost like to my my Marvel fans out there, almost like a Terrigenesis type of thing, but a temporary Terrigenesis, where it's not a permanent change, it's just something that's temporary. So she's exposed to third eye, and then they're monitoring what happens. So her strength is a 1, is not applicable, but her reaction time is 1 millisecond. That's fucking fast. And her heart rate jumps from a base of 90 to 160. That's a lot. That's almost twice what the heart rate is. 160 is like, you should be going to the hospital. Distortion decay is 434, or local distortion is 434. So I don't know what meter that's in, or what metric, but I'm assuming that's pretty goddamn high. Distortion decay, I'm assuming, is how long it takes for the distortion to burn out, fade out, and go away. And it looks like a 29. And once again, I don't know the metric for that. I don't know what meter or how they're doing all this stuff. What they're measuring it in. Afterwards, she's not very positive. She's extremely sensitive, and she's got no control over what I'm assuming is third eye. And in physical notes, the following occasional behaviors have been noted and should be ignored in future examinations: twitching, vocal tics, biting, epiphora, vomiting, screaming, harm to examiner, harm to self, misplaced laughter. Any self-harm attempts must be interrupted immediately. Test results: physical response test 100 passed, emotional response test 100 passed, physical control test 32 failed, emotional control test 22 failed, third eye activation test 100 passed, third eye suppression test 8 failed. Now, just from that first part by itself, emotional and physical response test, she passed, which was perfect, but physical and emotional control, and I'm assuming this is when she's exposed to third eye, her physical and emotional control is just abysmal. She just completely loses it. Third eye activation, how well is she able to activate third eye? It is flawless according to this, but once it's activated, she loses all control and can no longer suppress it willingly. And then you have sexual response test is an A, which, I mean, I would hope so. She's 3. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Minor threat response test, minor elimination test, life threat elimination test, and test notes last updated. So all 100 on all of these. Sexual response test is bypassed during prepubescence. Requested bypassing the following tests: third eye activation test, third eye suppression test, third eye life threat response test, life threat elimination test. All requests denied. Libitina has not yet recovered from the termination of redacted and is not expected to do so in the near future. Continuing to administer these tests will only accelerate the deterioration of Libitina's health. You are choosing to avoid the measures necessary to prevent a repeat scenario. Doctor, will you not have as much faith in your personnel as you do in your god? End of report. So that's a thing. Yeah. So I'm not going to dilly-dally too much on this one here. I mean, just think on that one on your own. Comment below what you think it all means. And if you have any other information on any of this stuff, please shoot it my way. I'm definitely open to all this stuff. I'm open to discussion. You could always, tweet me up on Twitter as well. So we're gonna leave this as is, and we're gonna move on to the very last part of the video, which is gonna be Yuri decoded. So this is Yuri's. Actually, you know what? Before we go to Yuri's, because I'm gonna say that for last. There was one more thing I forgot to talk about, unfortunately, and that is going to be the files that drop into your stuff. And what I mean by your stuff is I'm talking about your files, your program files. And we're gonna go with have a nice weekend, because everything else is pretty much self-explanatory. It's all text documents, but have a nice weekend is just a file, and that's it, and there's nothing with it. So have a nice weekend on its own is cryptic. Okay, it's just coding. If you take the file and you open it in Notepad, it's just code. Now, the text is encoded first in base 64, which is nothing new because that's what we saw earlier with Natsuki's poem and things like that. However, it's also ciphered with a Vignere cipher. And the key to that Vignere cipher is Libitina. When you decode it, this is what you hear. This is what you read. What is a man without knowing the rich aroma of the future, the hot, complex balance of the present, and the bittersweet aftertaste of the past? Yeah. So that's what have a nice weekend translates to. Now, to close off, very, very last thing that we need to do, okay, is Yuri.chr. Yuri.chr is very long. It is very, very long. I'm talking, it's fucking long. Alright, so we're going to switch over, and if you want to stick around while I read this, by all means. If not, I appreciate you watching the video, and don't forget to comment on my YouTube channel, on my YouTube video, and or shoot me up on Twitter. Don't shoot me, please. Shoot me something on Twitter. Just let's get some discussion going, man. I'm real excited to see what this holds. So Yuri.chr decoded. This is what we get. If you found this note in a small wooden box with a heart on it, then congratulations. You're probably the first person to read this. I didn't really plan on sharing this with anybody, but for some reason I think it's exciting that somebody out there, a complete stranger, will come across this note and read my story. Someone I will never meet, sharing such a personal bond with me. I'm fascinated that either one of us could die tomorrow. Could die, even as soon as tomorrow, with the other being completely clueless to the fact. To you, my entire life is within this note, and so I will live for as long as your memory can carry me. Writing this, I wonder if that makes you feel fascinated or violated. It's so exciting. Sorry if I'm a bit disorganized, but I'd like to get it down while it's still fresh on my mind. First, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a first-year college girl and have led, by most standards, a pretty unspectacular life up to this point. I grew up in an upper-middle-class school district with decent teachers. I did track in middle school and some of high school, and I've had two boyfriends now. Now I'm studying for a career in occupational therapy because I feel the field is undervalued and provides tremendous help to people. I'm giving you this background because there's strange misconception that if you want to kill someone, then you're either sick in the head or you have anger management issues. But it's very apparent that I don't fall into either of those categories. It's true that most murder cases are in a domestic setting where someone loses control of their anger or something. But the thing is that those people kill under provocation, whether by a singular outburst or by a slow burning series of misfortunes. Those people kill because in that brief moment, they want a specific someone, for a specific reason, to be hurt or killed. What I'm talking about is wanting to kill someone for no specific reason. Maybe just to see what it's like. Do you ever get that? I wouldn't know how others feel because it's not something I ever talked about. But I've been curious about what it's like to kill someone ever since I was a child. Not killing anyone in particular, just a random person. It's always just fascinated me that if I put my mind to it, I could approach anyone, and in 5 minutes, they would be completely gone from this earth. But I've never done so for a couple of reasons. First of all, for most of my life, it's logistically impossible for me to do it without getting caught. I only got my driver's license a couple of years ago, and even then, the preparations would take too much time, definitely stirring suspicion. It was only once I started college that I realized this was no longer an obstacle. Another reason is that I was afraid of causing harm to too many people. You might laugh reading that at how hypocritical it sounds, but let me explain. Why should I feel bad about killing someone if they're too dead to care? Who would I be feeling bad for? Contrarily, it's the grief of the living that I'd rather not be responsible for. Because of this, I knew it would take a good deal of research before finding a suitable person to kill. I think my mic stand is slowly dropping. I'm trying to make sure that does not happen. It is slowly dropping, son of a bitch. Ugh, come here. There we go. Okay. I just propped my water bottle underneath my microphone. I need a new boom stand, man. That boom stand is garbage. Okay. Find a suitable person to kill, and I've never had the means to do so. Again, until I started college. And now, having just experienced it, I'd say it was pretty satisfying in the end. Something I would try again? Probably not, since my curiosity has already been satisfied. It really wouldn't be the same a second time. But anyway, If by any chance you're also curious to kill someone, then you're welcome to take notes. Smiley face. I started a hobby of people watching soon after I entered college. People watching is interesting to me because it's taking one of the infinite extras in your life and turning them into a main character, without them knowing, of course. It's so easy to forget that every single one of the hundreds of strangers you pass every day has a life story as deep and complex as your own. One thing I notice about people watching and wanting to kill someone is that you are in more constant awareness of this. When I find a person to observe, their story slowly becomes more clear to me over time, gaps being filled. Yeah, it really is amazing. I usually went to the grocery store on weekends and looked around in people's shopping carts. If I saw something that interested me, I decided to observe the person for a little bit. Of course, since my goal was to find someone to kill, I ruled out anyone who had children or a partner with them. Wedding rings were another telltale sign. So maybe once a weekend, I would find someone who fits my criteria, at which point I would follow them home and take note of their address. From there, it became incredibly easy to investigate a little bit more. Most people have normal work hours, meaning I could spend afternoons going through their mail or looking around in their house. I repeated this with several people, and had one close call, but for varying reasons, I didn't really feel satisfied enough with them to kill any of them. I started getting a bit impatient and thought that I might just settle for killing the man named Devin, even though I didn't want to, really kill someone wealthy. But then I came across someone new, someone who just felt perfect. The feeling only strengthens as I investigated her further, and I know that she would be the one for me to kill. A young-looking woman I met at the grocery store, as per usual. She was doing some light shopping with a basket. Her hair was wavy and dark brown, sitting inelegantly on her slumped shoulders, and surrounding her tired-looking face. Her bare fingers told me she might be single, but beyond that, my gut was almost certain of it. This woman just seemed so plain, really. I guess I felt a greater acuity for the personal lives of strangers ever since I started my people watching. But the way she carried herself, I just got the feeling that if she suddenly died, no one would be around to miss her. Of course, I still wanted to investigate her a bit. I followed my usual routine of checking out her place during work hours. I learned immediately from her mail that her name is Linda Watson. Linda lived in a quiet apartment complex, her mailbox easily accessible right outside her door. Instead of quickly shuffling through it, I decided I could take her mail back to the dorm and return it before she was finished with work. She only lived about 15 minutes from me. I did some research and learned how to open and reseal the envelopes without damaging them, which took some technique along with a hairdryer, rubbing alcohol, and Q-tips. This made it easy for me to learn a little bit more about her. Linda was a 33-year-old woman who worked for a small accounting firm. I'd rather not name the place outright. Her birthday was December 11th, which, coincidentally, was approaching in a couple of weeks. I also managed to find a bank statement that gave me a nice look into how she's been spending her past month. It was at this point I realized that my assessment of Linda Watson as an extremely plain woman was pretty spot on, because there was absolutely nothing of interest on that list. A trip to Old Navy, a bunch of Starbucks, something about a $40 from Amazon, no restaurants, no movies, nothing that would really imply she was spending any time socializing. That aside, I also found a cooking magazine, so I guess she was into cooking. Now here, I'm going to actually skip this background song, because she's singing, and while she sings lovely, I can't have her singing over me while I'm trying to talk. This is good enough. Okay, so, continuing on. Apartments are harder to break into than suburban homes because there are fewer doors and windows. Every time I got Linda's mail, I would check the front door and the windows in the back. They were always locked, and it was a bit frustrating because I was really interested in getting into her house. So I came up with a sort of plan that I thought would be fun, even if it didn't work. Last Saturday, I visited Linda Watson's apartment complex as I would on weekdays. The difference is that this time, I wanted her to be home. Lower that volume a little bit more. I wanted her to be home. I thought it'd be interesting to have a conversation with her. If I got lucky, I could take advantage of the situation and discreetly unlock a window from the inside. So I walked up to her door wearing nothing warmer than a light sweatshirt and knocked. The adrenaline rush was crazy. I was afraid I might screw something up. The door opened, and in front of me stood Linda Watson, exactly as I remembered her from the grocery store. It was at this moment, making eye contact for the first time, that I realized I was running the risk of beginning to care about this person. As selfish as it is, I couldn't kill a person I cared about, even if a 33-year-old woman standing in a doorway with a slightly perplexed look on her face, giving me a reserved hello. Arms crossed from the cold, I shyly returned Linda's greeting. I explained that I was walking my dog near the woodsy area behind the back of her apartment and that he had gotten away. I'd been looking for my dog for an hour and was wondering if Linda may have seen him running about. Of course, Linda sympathetically apologized for the situation and that she couldn't be of use to me, but that she would keep an eye out. I wore a defeated expression in response, apologizing to her in return for troubling her. It somehow went exactly as I had hoped. Linda invited me inside to warm up for a bit with some coffee. I outwardly hesitated before accepting her offer, although on the inside I wanted to jump through the door and hug her for cooperating so well. And that's how Linda Watson ended up with a 19-year-old girl next to her on the couch. Who knows if it was just a nice gesture or if she really has no better way to spend her Saturdays than talking to some kid who she just met, who happens to also be interested in killing her. Linda soon learned that my name is Maria, which it's not, and that I attended a nearby community college, which I don't. I was a little bit nervous that she would ask me too many questions because I didn't have many answers prepared. I was able to steer the conversation toward her, and she was pretty happy to talk. I asked what she does, and she told me that she works for the accounting firm I already knew about, communicating with outside clients and keeping records. I told her I was pretty nervous about growing up. She told me to enjoy college and make lots of friends because there's less opportunity once you start working. When I asked if she was married or anything, she laughed. Of course I knew she wasn't married, but I wanted to hear more about her love life. She said that she doesn't currently have a boyfriend. I guess she's at least had boyfriends, but who knows how long ago. When I asked her about kids, she said she doesn't want them until she gets a better job. On top of that, she told me that her family has a history of some genetic disease such as arthritis and depression, which she's afraid to give to her kids. It's pretty funny that she mentioned it, because when I asked to use her bathroom, I noticed a tube of prescription pills on the sink. It was labeled duloxetine, which I looked up later and discovered that it is in fact an antidepressant. I had a joking thought that maybe by killing her I'd be doing her a favor, but quickly decided I was a terrible person for coming up with that. The rest of the visit was pretty dull. We talked about food and some other mundane stuff before I eventually made an excuse to leave. I didn't get the chance to unlock a window or anything like that. I really didn't feel the need to go through her apartment anymore. As early as the drive back to my dorm, I was already thinking about how I would best like to kill Linda Watson. The choice was between effectiveness and fun. I decided to go with fun, because it would be way more satisfying to kind of dissect her as I killed her, rather than just getting it done and calling it a day. Fast forward 1 week to December 13th. Today, actually. Linda Watson turned 34 2 days ago. And today, and I made a little wager with myself where if Linda was spending her birthday weekend alone, I would pay her a visit and kill her. If she was out or had company, I would stop by next week or something instead. So this morning, I drove over to Lowe's, bought an axe. Again, I expect you're laughing, but that's also kind of the point. An axe is so kind of cliche and in movies, and a movies thing that I actually thought it would be the most fun. Swinging it at someone and everything, it's a really entertaining image. They actually had a bunch of different axes, so I picked one that had a good weight, but it was still light enough for me to swing quickly. The drive after getting an axe was when the adrenaline really picked up. All that kept going through my mind on the way over was, wow, I'm really doing this. Not in a bad way, just like a surprise this is real life sort of thing. And I also got this strange rush of recollections of the time I spent with Linda. It was like my life was flashing before my eyes, except it was just the rather mundane hour I spent with Linda. Like snippets of our conversation, the sound of her laugh, her facial expressions and stuff. I also wondered to myself what the crazy serial killers would be feeling at a time like this. Schizophrenic delusions? Sexual buildup? I have no idea. What I felt was kind of like ridiculously alert and numb in the senses at the same time. However, that's possible. Before getting out of the car, I had the sense to stuff the axe in my backpack to look a little less ridiculous walking across the parking lot. The handle was sticking out, but that didn't really matter. At that point, my heart was pounding so hard I could feel my throat throbbing. I tried controlling my breath, but it's really hard to not breathe fast when your heart is pounding like that. I reached Linda Watson's door and quietly put my ear to it after setting down my backpack. I heard a voice that wasn't hers. Company? No, it was just the TV, mixed with her occasional tapping footsteps behind the door. I actually kept my ear there for a really freaking long time, because I wanted to make absolutely sure nobody was over. Probably 10 minutes of that and a lot of reassuring myself convinced me. I quietly opened my backpack zipper and held the axe in my hands, my fiercely shaking hands. What the hell was this kind of reaction that my body was making? I told my body to shut up, that it's no big deal, but of course it wouldn't listen. It was actually bizarre how much my hands were shaking. It must be the adrenaline buildup. I rolled my eyes at myself and got my hands to rest on the doorknob. If it's locked, I'll knock. It'll be basically the same. I took a deep breath and forced my muscles into action. I swiftly turned the doorknob. Not locked. In one movement, I opened the door and slipped inside. Linda Watson just a few steps away into the kitchen. I see. She was in the middle of cooking. She immediately jumped and turned around, startled. I expected that. Quickly, I let go of the doorknob and adjusted the axe in both hands. In the following split second, I realized that she would probably start making a lot of noise. Looking back, I'm an idiot for not considering that. Just as Linda's mouth opened to speak, maybe even started speaking, I forcefully swung my axe into the side of her head. But my axe was facing backwards. I hit her with the blunt end of the blade. I actually did this on purpose because in that split second, I somehow decided that it'd be the way to keep her noise to a minimum. It actually worked. I felt barely any resistance in the swing as I collided with her head, knocking it clean aside. Linda's half-formed syllable came out as a kind of weird grunt. A noisy exhalation is probably the best I could describe it. That happened at the same time as her head smacked into the cabinet from the force and she fell backwards without any ability to keep her balance. I didn't hesitate at all to keep swinging at her while she was half lying down on the ground, this time my axe facing the right way. I didn't really know where to swing. So I just kind of started hacking at her collarbone area and chest. It didn't feel like the axe was going too deep, but there was a nice thunk sort of sound every time the axe embedded into her. I even felt the soft sinking sensation ripple into my hands, like the axe was a kind of physical extension of my sense of touch. Wait a minute. That's the second time we've heard that sentence. On a whim, I swung once at her throat, but most of the swing actually missed and hit the floor by accident, causing a loud, dull whack and resonating throughout the apartment. I didn't have time to think about it. I swung again with better aim and got a more centered hit, feeling the bone or cartilage or whatever is in there, so I must have split it open. Right after that, I decided to swing at her face, and I got this diagonal cut along her nose and mouth, which felt pretty good, so I did it once more. I finally briefly stopped to survey the damage. Linda was bleeding ridiculously. The blood was kind of coming out in waves, in sync with her beating heart, probably. It was pooling all around her and riding along the cracks between the tiles. Her light blue shirt was all torn up and stained dark, kind of mixed with a fleshy mess around her chest. It was all just glistening red. Her face wasn't much better, covered in dripping red at this point, and her lip was kind of hanging off, revealing red-stained teeth in a really weird way, like a zombie or something. Linda wasn't dead though. Her limbs were kind of weakly, aimlessly trying to move while she was stuck on her back. More than anything, she reminded me of a bug that if you crush it but still pitifully moves its legs around before it dies completely. That's basically what she was doing. But I didn't know how long it would take for her to die, or what kind of condition she was in. I ended up grabbing a big kitchen knife that was on the counter, and that she was using to cut up meat. Trying to step around the blood, I reached down and carved into the upper half of her neck, trying to sort of saw it from the left side to the right. It was a little bit awkward because the area was so soft and squished around the knife as I was cutting, but the sensation was completely different from the axe. I actually felt like I was cutting a tough piece of raw meat, which I guess technically I was. The blood started pouring out, and I hoped that it severed the most major arteries in there. It must have worked, because after a moment, Linda's limbs kind of just had the strength drained from them, soon resting still on the floor. I took a few seconds to catch my breath. No time to stick around and think about the experience. I shook the knife blade through a dirty pan into the sink to clean off the blood. Then kind of threw the knife into my backpack. I did the same with the axe. I also took her laptop that was sitting on the counter. It had some recipe open for veal and mushrooms. I didn't really take the laptop to use it, since I have a perfectly good one myself that I got for college. I just wanted to look through it for fun. I finally went outside and closed the door behind me. I got some blood on my sweater and jeans, but funnily enough, I actually anticipated so I wore dark colors. The drive back to my dorm was just a constant replaying of the experience in my head. I guess that still kind of is happening, even now actually, but it felt pretty nice. Linda Watson is dead. I kind of let that weight of that sink in. The sensation of having completely removed a human life from existence. It's crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. Anyway, I threw the axe and knife into a dumpster on campus, which I think is picked up every Monday, so they'll be gone by then. My roommate goes home on the weekends, so I have the dorm to myself today. It gave me the chance to go through Linda's website history, and I was right in thinking that's where her deepest secrets would lie. There was actually a lot of dirty stuff, like the names of websites for porn videos and stories and things like that. Same with her searches. A lot of the websites were boring, like cooking websites and recipes and game websites like Bejeweled and stuff. I eventually got to the 1 week ago section of her history, and it gave me a chill. There were a whole bunch of searches like methods of suicide, how to tie a noose, dangerous household chemicals, carbon monoxide poisoning, like a lot of them. She was probably ready to write a book on suicide after all the research she did, so I guess Linda was contemplating suicide. I wonder if it was influenced by her depression. The irony is actually striking. Maybe Linda was going to die anyway, or maybe she just couldn't find the courage to do it. If that were the case, I almost literally gave her a birthday present by killing her. It's actually really comical in a messed up way, and it leaves a weird taste in my mouth. What I don't get is that I didn't see any of those searches up until 1 week ago section. Nothing more recent than that. I ended up throwing the laptop in the dumpster with the other stuff. It's been a few hours since then, so I've had some time to calmly think about everything. Like I said, it was pretty satisfying, and I'm glad I finally got around to it. I feel like I could finally cross it off my bucket list, or like I'm tying loose ends with myself. This is probably the first and last time I'll write the name Linda Watson. It's back to living a normal college life, except I might do some people watching every now and then, because it's definitely fun and interesting. But I always wonder how many people there are like me. I'm sure there has to be a lot, because there is just nothing strange about it to me. Being curious about killing someone? Sadly, it's something that people can't exactly just talk about, so I guess I'll never know. I'm sure that anyone would just lie about it even if you asked them to. But you can't help but wonder if that person in the grocery store who stares at you as you pass by might be considering what it would be like to kill you. If I could, I would tell them all about it, so they could decide for themselves. But who knows? Maybe I got lucky, and that person is you. I actually really hope so. So yeah, that's what you get when you decode Yuri.chr. Now this is a story that that Dan admitted to writing a while back. I don't know the details too much, but I'm sure somebody can comment that in the comment section down below. But yeah, I mean it's fucking crazy, man. There's so much shit going on. Fucking hell. Well, anyway, yeah, that's the video for now, and I am looking forward to reading what you guys have to say. There's so much lore to go through, and just to speculate on. It's gonna keep us, going for a while now, and I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys checking out the video, and I'm not gonna do my regular outro video with all kinds of stuff anymore. I'm kind of over that. So I'm just gonna start uploading videos as I go and just kind of have some fun with it. Yeah, appreciate you guys stopping by, and yeah, hit me up if you want to talk. I'm always up for speculation and chit chat. Take care.